Boom shakalaka, Bitcoin is looking extremely bullish in the short term. Today's video, we're going to take a look at why Bitcoin is likely to hit $300,000 by March and why today is a huge day for Cardano. Stay tuned. What's up everyone, Randall here from Crypto Love. Today's video, we're taking a look at Bitcoin and why it is likely to hit $300,000 by March. Also, we're taking a look at why today is a huge day for Cardano. Before we get into it, guys, make sure to like, subscribe, click the notification bell. Let's try and get to 1,000 likes. Also, today's video is sponsored by Syntropy, so stay tuned till the end for an exclusive interview with the CTO where we take a look at this very interesting project. Now, if we take a look at Bitcoin today, my friends, we are in this very bullish ascending pattern right here. As a matter of fact, we've broken through this downtrend from previous all-time highs. We broke through there on about August 7th, and we broke through the first resistance at 43,000. We found some resistance at about 47,000, but likely somewhere between August 18th and the 27th, we will likely see an upward progression of Bitcoin's price. Now, why upward and why not downward? Well, William Clemente puts it very well right here. He says the main reasons he's bullish for the coming weeks. Number one, whales buying heavily over the last 2 weeks. Number two, long-time holders aren't taking exit liquidity. Number three, illiquid supply is up only. Number four, bids are being pushed up. Number five, funding and OI not even close to the same price levels in February. Rally is spot driven. All of these things suggesting that Bitcoin price is likely to continue going up along with all the other altcoins as well, because as does Bitcoin, so does everything else. Now, despite this bullish action in Bitcoin price, it seems like most people right now are very, very concerned about this infrastructure bill still going on. Personally, I don't much care for politics. I think it's porn for intellectuals, but I prefer porn for the layman. That's why I go to Pornhub for all my politics. But anyways, with the infrastructure bill, SEC chairman's latest crypto move will hurt American innovation. Representative Patrick McHenry says, he goes on to say that the world of crypto finance is platforms where people can trade tokens and other venues where people can lend tokens. The American public is buying, selling, lending on these venues, both decentralized, blah, blah, blah. Basically, people want to amend the infrastructure bill, and members of Congress are lobbying Nancy Pelosi and others to amend the crypto tax definition. You can see Representative Anna Eshoo doing that as well, trying to don't kill crypto. And even we have Hoskinson himself urging crypto supporters to rally in Washington, D.C., potentially the biggest rally of crypto holders. He says it's about time we get a rally going in Washington, D.C. I'm going to make some phone calls, more on this later. So he's definitely got the support of crypto holders. And today, August 13th, a huge day for Cardano crypto fans. Mark your calendar. The newest upgrade will be the third and final of a series of upgrades to support a significant new feature. The ALONZO Purple upgrade will see the full rollout of smart contracts on the Cardano network. So, could we actually see smart contract rollouts on Cardano today? Potentially. And Top Trader is saying Cardano looking better than ETH, doubles down on a steep Bitcoin rise. Now, this guy, Capo, he's saying, hey, Cardano's looking great. Bitcoin's looking great. But he says Cardano as well looking great, looking potentially better than ETH. And we're seeing large-scale adoption of cryptocurrencies across the world. Mexican billionaire says his bank will soon add support for Bitcoin. Ricardo Salinas Pliego has confirmed his bank is going to enable support for Bitcoin. He's now got laser eyes. Nuevo foto de perfil, his new photo. There we go. Also, Argentina open to adopting Bitcoin. Now, he didn't actually say he wants to adopt Bitcoin. He said, I don't want to go too far on a limb, but there's no reason to say no. So, cryptocurrencies being adopted across the world. And as a matter of fact, the biggest crypto hack may have just been someone letting us know that DeFi is not that secure. Turns out, Polynetwork hacker has returned almost all of the $611 million of loot. So far, they've returned everything except for 33 million of USDT that remained frozen in a wallet. So potentially they've released that, and the on-chain message, the team is offering the hacker $500,000 plus not pressing charges, which is probably the better thing. However, the hacker goes on to say that even if they tried to press charges, they said they were using a temporary email, IP, and fingerprint, which were untraceable. So the guy gave up $611 million in return for $500,000. Probably not that bad bug bounty. So there's that going on, but that gives a lot of news to cryptocurrency. And that being said, with all of this stuff going on in cryptocurrency, it seems like Bitcoin is likely to smash $175,000 this year, according to this chart by Willy Woo, already looking towards $175,000 top. But, my friends, this chart here says $300,000 more likely. This is Trading Shot, one of my favorite traders over on Trading View. He says if we take a look at all of these cycles, basically what happens is we take the bottom to the previous all-time high. There's an intermediate pause at 1.618, and then the all-time high was at 2.272. Now that was cycle 1. Now for cycle 2, we upgrade a little bit, okay? From the bottom to the top, we have an intermediate top at 2.618, which is the next fib line from this 1.618, and then the top is the 3.272, which is the next fib line up from this 2.272. So that would mean cycle 3, which we're in right now. If we take the bottom to the top, we go 3.618, which is again one up from this 2.618, which was one up from the 1.618. That was the intermediate top. And then we go all the way up to 4.272, which is up one from 3.72, which is up one from the 2.172, which would put us roughly at a $300,000 Bitcoin. Is this unreasonable? No, and here's why. Because I took a look at Bitcoin myself. Now, I have theories, all right? And this is the box that I made like a year and a half ago for where Bitcoin would likely end up during the time period it would likely end up. And this is my idea on why Bitcoin could likely get in this area. Now, I have 3 theories as to when the top is going to occur. First, it's going to happen in about a month or two, okay, right around the end of September. Why? Because of the golden ratio, Trading Shot's golden ratio. This same, one and the same, his 49-51% golden ratio. You can go look that up on anywhere. But because of that, if the top would be 2 months away, I took 2 months of the 2017 bull run from the top, and I plotted that in green. But there's another possibility as well. Could be the end of the year. December, January tends to be a pretty reasonable time for a top. So if that were to happen, I plotted that here in yellow. And then the third would be March. Now, why March? Well, potentially there might be unlocking of some ETH from the smart contracts, the staking smart contracts in March. So potentially we might see everything go up towards the end of the year and then keep going till March and then crash. So I have 3 different scenarios and 3 different prices for where it could likely be. So if we see the top in September, we would likely be looking at a $161,000 top, roughly around the same spot as this Willy Woo chart. That happens if we see a top in 2 months, which is possible, certainly possible. The next would be if we see a top at the end of the year. This would be $275,000. Very likely, very similar to this top here. So if we see the top at the end of the year, it might be $300,000. And the last one would be if we wait all the way until March to see the top, then we could be looking at a $500,000 plus Bitcoin. And this would actually be at the very top of the total trend lines. Let me just show you here. That would actually place us all the way at the top of the trend lines for where the top usually is. So that's very possible as well. March of 2022. That would be a pretty awesome top, $500,000 Bitcoin. Now, how do I know when the top's going to happen? Pi cycle chart. Simple as that. But those are 3 very interesting scenarios for Bitcoin and for cryptocurrencies as a whole. So guys, that's all for today's video. Make sure to stay tuned for the Syntropy interview, and I'll see you on the other side. Peace. What's up, everybody? I'm welcomed by Jonas, the CTO and co-founder of Syntropy. How's it going, Jonas?
Hey, great to be here. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for this interview. I'm really excited about the idea of Syntropy because I'll tell you, I love using the internet. And this is providing a new internet solution basically for the world. So tell us briefly about what is Syntropy.
So Syntropy is a new internet layer, which is supposed to make internet both faster, more secure, and more democratic. So basically give the control of the performance and the security of the internet back to the users and the providers of the system. So, every day when we use the internet, we use applications, from the Ubers to Facebooks, and we don't realize a lot of the things would happen behind the scenes. And a lot of that is internet providers are sending data the way they want to, and application developers struggling to keep their applications working well. What Syntropy does is it lets any user to enable to participate in creating this new internet layer, and the other users use their connection if that, if someone can make your connection better. So it's a way to make the internet more democratized, faster, more secure, and at the same time, it's provided by the users for the users.
That's really awesome, because I think a lot of people are maybe learning now, but maybe they don't understand that at a base, the internet is insecure. And so like everything we're doing is kind of putting patches on top of that. And it seems like what you're doing is trying to make it more of a secure layer. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this is where, sort of Web3 comes in, right? And what people also sometimes don't realize is blockchain works on the internet as well, and it's mainly a software solution. So blockchain is also software. And then we say we're the layer 0 of Web3. We mean if you want to connect devices like IoT or mobile phones or whatever, using blockchain, you can't, right? So you can use smart contracts in a decentralized way, but you cannot connect devices or servers in a decentralized way. And if we want the Web3 to be full and have fully decentralized web, we need not only decentralized software like the blockchains enable people to have now, but we also need to have decentralized architecture and infrastructure so that these blockchains can also run themselves in a more decentralized fashion, or not be so reliant on internet providers or cloud providers and so on. So without Syntropy, we can never really get to full Web3 or full Internet of Things, or just the next 5 years of growth on internet, because you cannot imagine a couple of years down the line connections not being done through a blockchain system.
So how does it work transitioning from what we have to the future, and how does Syntropy fit into that?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we need the blockchain for that, because blockchain allows you to have a governance as well as the actual execution of what you're trying to do. And in our case is managing the thousands of relays and managing the connections. So that's what our blockchain will do. And you need a blockchain for that. So that's why we're launching a substrate-based chain this year. And that's why we're collecting 500 validators. And we are nearly full, but we still have a waiting queue to be validators. And people will be able to run our blockchain nodes. At the same time, we already are a couple of years in the development of the networking relay software. So we already launched software called Syntropy Stack to be used for developers, DevOps, engineers all over the world already, and get the adoption, get Syntropy, get to know Syntropy. And once we roll out the blockchain, people will run the validators, and the customers will start using our blockchain to make those connections. So it's going to be a very exciting year, and I encourage everyone to check out and participate and be a validator, and also or just take on and be a nominator and help to secure sort of the next blockchain for internet.
So what I saw that right now, the staking returns are pretty high. So tell us about how someone does that and the benefits they can expect to receive from becoming a validator.
Yeah, so our approach was a bit different, because when we started building Syntropy, then Noya, At the time, a lot of people started building different blockchain solutions. Harmony was early, Elrond, Solana, everyone was a bit more early. So we decided to focus on building the networking layer and prove that we can speed up the internet and build up the business relationships, the client base, get a good product out. And now, once the blockchain technology is already much further, so we have Substrate, we have our systems, now we can leverage that and launch a blockchain with an already working software system, and don't make those mistakes, which were impossible to make if we started doing that the blockchain solution 2 years ago. So we're very well positioned in that regard. And the staking rewards starts on Ethereum token. That's why we started staking on Ethereum ERC20 token, Noya. And the result of that will be we will collect 500 validators to run our blockchain nodes, as well as prepare the wider token holder community for nominating. So, and then we're gonna onboard those validators, more and more of them one by one, and be a proof of authority chain for some time to make sure everything is working. And when we're ready, basically convert to do a bridge of our token to our mainnet chain. But now the staking rewards will be very easily accessible through smart contracts on Ethereum, and you can start participating in the system. And before the places fill out, the rewards are quite huge to incentivize the kickstart, and the testing period of our blockchain. And we were also very lucky because we already have a token out and we have a treasury. So we assigned a pool of tokens as rewards for those people who participate in the economy. So I think it's really worthwhile joining and then, being part of this journey, launching internet blockchain and securing it as long as, as you go.
Awesome. One thing that I'm really curious about is how is it that you can compete with the ordinary internet for speed? Because to me, it seems like since if I interpret it correctly, you're using the internet to get that speed. So how can you actually be faster than the internet itself?
Yeah, very, very good question. So then you send data from your computer to any data center, and that happens anytime you use any application or go to a website. What happens is your internet service provider takes over the routing of that package the minute it leaves your house or your router, and then who owns the cable owns the routing, how that company wants to send your data to the destination you want to. And that normally happens on the lowest cost basis, or is just badly configured, or is just overutilized, or is just it goes through areas where the infrastructure isn't as reliable. And the internet protocol itself was never designed to provide good performance in the first place. It was only designed to be open and decentralized and reach the recipient. And then it's up to the software developers and anyone else in the world to sort of find your own ways to keep it secure and to keep it performant. So, if you send your data across, your data can go a million different ways. It can go one side of the world or through another side of the world. And just so it happens that it's very inefficient because everyone is optimizing for their own network. So like Google doesn't care how your traffic goes through Amazon's network once it leaves Google's network, and vice versa, or any other example. So, and the only way to build like a global layer of, a bird's eye view, global layer where you can see all of these inefficiencies and say, I want to route this data packet now through IBM's infrastructure because this moment it's fastest, and not because I'm just going to route it through Google's just because I use it this way and it has been set up this way. So just by being more dynamic and having a global overlay, you can do that. And it turns out if you just add more than 7 nodes in the network, inefficiencies come up. And anyone can go on darp.syntropystack.com and play around. There's DARP matrix showing inefficiencies in the world on the internet right now. And it's super fascinating. Like you can choose your city, choose a internet service provider, and see between cities, internet can be made faster using Syntropy technology, which is pretty cool.
That sounds awesome. Um, now, how are you guys adding security? Is it just through blockchain, or are you doing something unique?
Yeah, so both. First, we're adding security as a new way to think how developers should create networks. The old way is sort of, and developers forgive me for oversimplifications, but the old way is sort of, you build up the network, get it ready for the application, and then you build the application, and then the DevOps people deploy it, and then the DevOps guys sort of look after it. The new way, or what we think should be the new way, is getting virtual private network ready for your application, get it in code, and then create it at the same time you deploy the application, and then it just is just working. So you're taking away all of that, all of that abstraction, and making the thing automatic.
Okay, gotcha. And you said there were two, or was
Oh,
that the
sorry.
yeah?
Yeah, no. So the first one is WireGuard, right? So from the two is the automatically manage the networks. So you can create 10,000 server application, and it automatically secures the network. And it does that by creating those secure WireGuard tunnels. And then the second way is what blockchain brings, and then that is when you manage infrastructure, you either need to do it by hand, which is impossible. That's why I mentioned you need automation, or you trust a service provider like an Amazon or a software provider or any other vendor. Now, what you can do with Syntropy through blockchain is you don't need to tell anyone what's your infrastructure like, uh, because everything is encrypted under your private keys. And then you want to connect 1,000 devices, that command goes on a blockchain encrypted. So not us, not Amazon, not anyone, not any service provider knows what you're connecting and how you're connecting, what's your IP addresses, what's your infrastructure pieces like. And this way, the data is encrypted, like, in transit, in execution, and in management as well. So not only the data is protected by encrypted tunnels, which is the one, but the management of a network is fully protected because you're not disclosing any data to any third party or company.
All right, awesome. Sounds very secure. So, so I'm curious. What is your favorite thing about Syntropy?
So my favorite thing, that's a very interesting question.
It's not an easy one,
My
but I feel
fa-
like you have an insider's view. So I think that,
yeah.
you might be able to see things other people might not pick out.
Yeah, so I think my take on it is like a further review, because we think about it more deeply than people get to in every day. And, and my favorite thing about Syntropy is sort of the magnitude or the scale of what we're trying to achieve is not understood fully before probably it will get done. Because I just do not see in 3, 5, 7, or name a number years, devices being connected not through a blockchain-based system or not through a distributed ledger. Just because you're gonna have your light bulbs connecting, you're gonna have stickers on a wall connecting, and it's impossible to have various different ways in companies getting cars connect to drones without a such a stable and manageable and traceable and fair uh, connection system. You just cannot rely on software. And if we take it one step further, if we want to talk about AI or software, doing more clever things itself, it needs a layer where software can make connections. Currently, people make connections. Like, a blockchain smart contract cannot initiate a connection between two devices. It should, and it will. It's just a matter of time. And that's why I think, like people in Telegram communities joke, and use the word inevitable in our Telegram channels, because that's what we try to communicate. It's inevitable, but it's just so hard to imagine because you don't think about internet protocols when you just use the devices or the applications or anything you use today.
Hmm. That's really interesting. So it's kind of like you're potentially building the foundation for the future of all
technology almost.
Absolutely, and that's what's fascinating, because it's, you know, in some amount of years, Syntropy will be the internet or a internet, because the internet today is going to become more and more, you know, a infrastructure, which is cables, you know, and non, you know, cables plus waves, etc. But, you know, great infrastructure. And you know, and used to be just that, and everyone creating their own solutions. What we're trying to introduce is, internet's great, now let's introduce Syntropy for everyone to use as well. And then you have this automatically optimized fair for everyone system, which is run by the token, governed by the blockchain, and sort of has its own economy, and people pay the token as gas, for data, to get their data optimized or routed more fairly or more securely or more green way, or whatever would be your appetite in the future.
Awesome. Awesome. So all that sounds really great. Anything else you think we should cover on this interview?
So I think what's very important is that we have a lot of progress coming up. So as I mentioned, we're very proud to launch the validator program as well as staking. So it's a great opportunity for people to get involved early and support the idea of a project, and participate as validators on or stake or nominate the tokens, and, you know, follow the progress, because we really tend to educate, make people understand about the project, and the company is growing a lot. So we're hiring people, they're senior people, we're growing the company and having more and more influence in the industry as well, getting the adoption. So, you know, I would just encourage people to keep track, read the news, and participate in the upcoming validator program, and be part of this new blockchain, which has a potential to become the blockchain of the internet, which is, in my head, one of the biggest opportunities for the next decades.
Yeah, it definitely sounds really awesome. So where's the best place for people to go to get more information and maybe join the community?
So we have Telegram channel, which is the first point of contact for many people in crypto. We've got amazing community managers, and people will get you up to speed. And we also have Twitter. You can find latest news there, and we're very active on Medium. We have a lot of good content to catch up. I've spoken to a couple of people who said recently they just spent 5 days just analyzing Syntropy and reading and learning about it. So I was like thrilled that there's a lot of content already to get familiarized. So I encourage people to go through and browse around.
Awesome. And I will put some links down in the pinned comment. But Jonas, it's been an absolute pleasure. I definitely learned a lot. I'm excited for what's coming up with the project. And thanks for joining us.
Likewise, always pleasure to be here, and I hope we'll talk soon.